everybody, Noreen here for Creative Life Scrapbooking, and I'm up for Feature Project Friday today. I wanted to share a few ideas of how you could use your Creative Memories pens to create some really cool mixed media effects. Now, if you're like a lot of us who are kind of Creative Memories purists, we use Creative Memories products because we know they have a high commitment to making sure their products are photo safe and archival. And, you know, if that's the case, you might have been a little hesitant to add other products, try watercolor paints or spritzes or, different things that you weren't really sure about. Now, over the years, I found a few products. I really like the Tim Holtz Distress ink, so I do use some of those kinds of products on some of my pages. But I wanted to give those of you who are Creative Memories kind of purists some options to have some fun and do a little creative mixed media techniques in your layouts. So most of us have used the Creative Memories pens for years now. We were really, excited when the new Creative Memories came back and offered the black and brown, and we loved the dual tip. There's the bold tip and the fine tip. And then last summer, I think it was, they brought out this cute little pouch with an assortment of 5 colors. Now, I certainly hope that they bring out more colors than this, but I'll take this. These are lots of fun. And of course, recently they have reintroduced the gold and silver in the dual tip format as well. So we have a fair amount of colors to play with. And if you're okay using these on your pages, then you're going to be okay with this particular technique. All right. So let me show you how you can get some real cool kind of painterly effects with these. So you're going to need a few supplies to try this out. Obviously, you're going to need your pens. You're going to need some white cardstock. This is just Creative Memories cardstock. It's not watercolor paper or anything like that. I have a full sheet, and then I have a sheet that's just cut into some 6x6 inch practice pieces. We don't use a ton of water in this technique, so although your paper will wrinkle up a little bit, as soon as it dries, you can, put a heavy book or something on it, and it will, go down fairly flat again. Obviously, you're going to need some water. Okay, I just have kind of a Tupperware container of water. And if you have it, a little spray bottle like this with some water is a fun thing to play with as well. Then I have a small brush with some pretty soft bristles. Now, the little brushes that come with your kids' paints probably won't work quite as well as this, but you don't have to go and spend money on a really expensive brush. Just look around and see what you've got, and we'll try that first. You could also use a water brush for this. That's a little brush that has the bristles on the end, and it's attached to a container of water, so you wouldn't even necessarily need the water container separately. Now, the other thing you're going to need is a piece of kind of flexible plastic. This is actually just one of the the baggies that this Creative Memories embellishments comes in, so I'm just repurposing that. I've got some paper towels here, and then probably the most important thing you're going to need is some kind of, kind of slick, non-absorbent surface. I've got a craft mat here. It's kind of sticky on the back, and it's very slick on the front here. But you could use a piece of laminated cardstock, a piece of firm plastic packaging, maybe an old page protector that ripped that you can't use, anything that would be plastic that you won't absorb the water and the paint. Okay, even a little plastic container, like the top of a Tupperware or a Ziploc or Glad type of container. Okay, so, and I think when you see how easy and fun this is, you're going to be really running off to get these supplies out and try them. Okay. So what we're going to do basically is we're going to make sure that we open and use the bold tip side of our pen, and we're just going to color right onto our little non-porous or non-absorbent plastic or slick surface. Okay, now it doesn't look like there's much pen there. The pen's kind of beaded up, and like you're thinking, how is that going to work? But when we take just a little bit of water on our brush, and we add it to the paint, the pigment that's come out of the paint, all of a sudden, the pigment that's come out of the pen, all of a sudden we have a lovely little puddle of paint. And this is exactly the same This has come right from the pen, so it's going to be safe to use. And what I like to do, I mean, you could take your brush and you could literally paint onto your paper. But what I like to do is just take my plastic baggie and kind of put it on top of the paint, and we're just kind of smoosh it on to our paper. Okay, and you can go back over it and blend it around. We're going to get kind of these nice sort of splotches of paint. If we need a little bit more, just color, add a little bit more water, and we can go back into it. Okay, now you can see there's not a ton of water on our paper, so it's not gonna, you know, take a lot of time to dry. It's going to be quite dry as it is, and it will just buckle a little bit in those areas where there's some water. Now the other thing I like to do is add some splatter effects. And you may have seen, let me see if I've got a piece handy. You may have seen on the new Full Bloom paper pack that there's already a lovely splatter effect for you. This kind of chartreuse stripe paper has some really pretty white and kind of mauve speckles. So that adds a lot of interest. And I like to add my kind of splatters mostly on kind of the diagonal. If I'm going to put most of my pictures in the center, for example, I want to have some interest in behind them. So I just pick up a fair amount of paint here, and I'm going to gently just hold my, my brush and tap with my forefinger and move it around my page, or move my page. Just turn this here, just so I can get, you know, some splatters into those kind of corners where I know there won't be a lot of pictures or other things. Okay, so, and then clean up is super easy. Just take a piece of paper towel. I can just blot up that little bit of paint, clean it off if there's any extra, and I can also just clean off the back of my plastic and use that again. Okay, so super easy and super fun. I'm just going to set this aside to dry, and we're going to come back to that later. Now, as I mentioned, we don't have a ton of colors right now. If you've been using Creative Memories for a long time, you may remember the old round tips. Now, I have some of these from, oh gosh, at least 15 years ago, you know, kind of 2002, 2003, somewhere in there when I first started scrapbooking. And many of these are still working. Great quality pens. You know, don't throw them away until you've tested them, that's for sure. So I can use some of those, but I can also use the 5 colors that were in the new collection of Creative Memories pens, and I can mix them to create kind of a custom color. So say, for example, I want to match this kind of pinky purple, all right? I'm going to take my red and my purple. We're going to play around a little bit with it, and that's what I'm going to use these kind of smaller pieces of cardstock for. They're just going to be kind of my testers. You can use any of your scraps. So I've just placed the red and the purple kind of side by side on my mat sheet, and I'm just going to start blending them together. Okay, and you can see that I have kind of a pinky purple here. If you think it looks too blue, you can add a little bit more red, which I'm going to do, just to make it, again, that kind of more mauvey color. And then you're thinking, well, maybe it looks too dark. Remember that adding more water to your paint will lighten it. So this will be perfect for kind of a pastel look. Okay, so now I'm just going to take that packaging again, smoosh it onto the paper, just kind of blot it and rub it around there. And you can see, oh, a little drippy. You can see that that's going to be, just blot that up. It kind of disappears, so I know that I've actually created a pretty good color match. So you can see that that's going to work quite well. Now, what if I wanted to create that gorgeous kind of yellow-green? So I'm going to, let me clean this up. I'm going to use the green from the package of the new five new colors. And I'm actually going to use the gold. Now, I do have a yellow from my old stash, but I'm actually just going to use the gold pen because this has a lot of yellow in it as well. So let's try these two together. Okay, and yeah, you can see that it's quite yellowy green. I might need even a little bit more of the yellow, so I'll add a little bit more of the gold pen. Yeah, that's getting close now. Okay, a little bit more water so that it's not too dark. Here's my packaging. I'll try not to drip it so much this time. Now I've got some darker areas, some lighter areas, but we'll see how that sort of dries. Okay, and I'm going to show you another little bonus technique at the end here. So I just want to kind of cover this whole sheet. Just pick it up, move it around, smush it around a little bit, and those colors will kind of run and fill up your page. Okay, so there's the green. Chartreuse. Love that color. All right, let's try another one. How about the blue? I'll just switch these around here. Now we've got a blue, but it's quite a dark blue. So this one is kind of a, if you look at the undertones of it, it's kind of a blue with a little bit of mauve or purple. So I'm just going to add a little bit, oops, use the round end. I'm just going to use a little bit of the purple. And then this is really, yeah, I need a little bit more purple, as you can see. This is really going to get a nice light color like this, I'm going to really want to add a fair bit of water to it. Still quite blue. Lots more purple. Okay, that's about the same kind of tone, same kind of color. And again, it's just so much fun to play with this. I could do this all day. I just like kind of mixing and playing and see what the colors that I come up with are. Now this might be a little dark, so let's see. Looks quite dark, but it's a pretty good blue in terms of the actual color. So let's add quite a bit more water. Remember, we're not going to add necessarily a bunch more water on the paper. We're going to just add water to the paint so that it dilutes the pigment and creates more of a pastel sort of look. All right, let's try this now. That's going to be a lot lighter when it dries. Okay. So that's quite close. And then the other one that I wanted to try was the kind of teal. See if I could get a good teal match. Here's a piece of the teal. Again, let's just switch these around. I'll just actually move this out of the way. Okay, so that teal has green, but also a lot of blue. So we're just going to take the green and the blue from our 5-pack. Let's start with the green. We added green and yellow to make the chartreuse. Now we're going to add green and blue to make that teal color. Okay, it's looking pretty good. I think I'd like a little bit more blue. Okay, that looks pretty good. A little bit more water. And let's give it a try. You can see how kind of addictive this is. Now, some of you are going to say, well, how do you know this? I have to admit, I have a degree in fine arts, and I was an art teacher for 14 years before I went into administration. So scrapbooking, you know, kind of comes naturally to me in terms of this is an art and a creative process that I really love to do. So I really draw on my design background and my fine art background in a lot of these. But as you can see, all we did was kind of combine a couple of colors from our packs, and we've got some beautiful tones that work perfectly with the papers. And obviously, if you were, you know, if you had some plans to use a specific type of photo, you could match the colors to the photos as well. Okay, I'd go for a nice red there with a little bit of the pink in it and more of an orangey gold there. Okay, so I'm back now and these have dried. You can see that they are a little bit bent, but again, if you just, you know, keep these under a little bit stack of, you know, some heavy books or something, those are going to flatten right out for you. But you can see that this is going to be a wonderful background page. I'm going to be using some of those photos that I mentioned earlier, and along with some of the new papers from the Full Boom collection. That's going to make a great little background for my layout. Okay, so that's going to be perfect. But I wanted to give you just one little bonus idea. So if you've kept all of these little scraps that you've been practicing on, you know, just consider reusing them. You could definitely punch some shapes out of these. I've got the new dewdrop flower, the new embossed trio, and one of my favorites is the daisy bouquet. So if you just go in and start, you know, punching out some of these shapes, you're going to get some really pretty kind of custom embellishments that have a lovely watercolor feel to those. So that's a great way to use up those scraps or those, you know, those pieces that you were just practicing on. All right, let's look at a dewdrop maybe real quick. You might just have to cut these down to get them into an area that has a lot of the watercolor. But yeah, so pretty. All right, so you'll definitely be able to use up these little practice sheets as well. All right, so there's so many fun possibilities. All right, so I hope you go and dig out some of your pens, whether or not you have the new pens or the old ones, but give this a try. I'd love to see what you come up with, and we'd really love you to post your comments and any projects that you do using our ideas over on our Creative Life Scrapbooking Facebook page. I'll put it on the links there, but it's www.facebook.com/creativelifescrapbooking. All right. Thanks so much for joining me today. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.